Ladies and gentlemen, we now present to you John Cox.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you all very much for giving me a little bit of time to do this demonstration. So I just want to, I'm just going to walk and talk you through this process, try and make it a little bit as holistic as possible and as experiential as possible. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the artwork that inspired this silkscreen process that we're going to do today. So when I was in art school, I was not a printmaker, but I did a lot of printmaking. And I don't know, for people who know about in the art world, printmaking is one of the disciplines that exists in the two-dimensional art world. There's, relief printmaking, which is woodcuts, which you see in the Max Taylor booth over there for cab. There's etching, which is another kind of process that you carve into metal. There's monoprints that involve you using a piece of plexiglass and you put ink on the glass and then you put the paper on it and you get a transfer. And what I'm doing is silkscreen. So effectively, the whole reason that that printmaking came into existence in the first instance was it gave people the opportunity to be able to put the energy into making one image, but you could make duplicates, right? So one could imagine early things like having a printing press or printing text or whatever, like when you're transcribing things, if you have to write everything out one time, it's like printmaking is almost like a low-tech version of having like the early kind of Xerox machine, right? So there's different methods, right? So fast forward to now, when I was in art school, I focused very much on silkscreen, right? I was friends with a guy who did all these silkscreen, had a clothing line and silkscreen t-shirts, and he was like a graffiti artist, and that was his medium, and I learned to do it from him. So since then, it's become a part of my own artistic practice. But after 25 years of doing this work, I kind of just want to explain where the silkscreen process has brought me in my own practice, and then kind of create the context of what we're going to do today with my work and what we're specifically going to do and why we're doing it on t-shirts. Okay, so for me, obviously, for those people who know me, I've been in the art world for a long time in this community, but my role is now to be a director of this art program that we have here. So I'm really thinking about ways to make art accessible to people, right? I think that art should be, democratic. Art is not an elitist idea that only people who can afford. If you walk around this fair, you look at some work and there's some pretty, fairly significant price tags on works of art that maybe for the average person, $18,000, $20,000 is a lot of money. And I like to think that apparel, like what you wear, is like another medium for art, right? And so we know that apparel exists in this whole other kind of dimension. You could just buy a cheap t-shirt for $7, or you could buy some Versace t-shirt for $800, right? It's still a t-shirt, right? The idea that what I'm trying to get at with this exercise with these love shirts, which I'm going to explain to you, is about how can we make a simple garment into a piece of artwork, okay? So for some people, the image is here. So this piece is called This Is How Much I Love You. This is a piece that I created for a text-based piece that I created for an exhibition that I had at Pop-Up Studios, which is my old studio in Chippingham. I think the work was developed in 2005. And so since then, it's 2004. So it's 19 years of just me making this work, this iteration of this work. So the concept of the work, just as an aesthetic, is really about kind of trying to communicate the infinite nature of love. I think when you say love to somebody and you use the word love, immediately their mind goes to some kind of romantic transaction, right? It's two people that are in love with one another and so on and so forth, right? And that's important. And that was, to some degree, the root of the work was based on a conversation that I was having, right, with somebody about how can you actually quantify this idea of love to somebody else, right? And so the idea of repeating the text over and over and over again, it was like how people would say, and I guess this is a romantic context, people talk about whispering little nothings to one another, like, oh, I love you, how much? Oh, the amount of fish that are in the sea, or sand in the, sand on the beach, or stars in the sky. So the idea is the work wanted to kind of suggest that it just kind of went on forever. But the other idea with the love was that it wasn't transactional. It wasn't just like, oh, I love you if you love me back, and oh, we're romantic. It was more about compassion. It was more about tolerance. more about real, just kind of like leaning into one another and kind of understanding what we are and who we are. And the work started at that point at Pop-Up Studios and went through all these different iterations. It was a long scroll, silkscreen scroll in my studio that was 15 feet tall. And I was so proud of it, it almost killed me. It probably took like a week to do it. I was on my hands and knees silkscreening each phrase at a time. And when I was done, people came up to me and said, oh, is that all? This is supposed to be infinity, but I could see the end of the scroll. I can't, I can see that it ends. So the challenge was I had the opportunity to make the scroll, to make the work again. And so I was like, oh, somebody can't say that to me again. I have to make it in a broader, more kind of like expansive way. So I made a scroll that was on like a printing press looking like, and it was about 100 feet long, right? It was for the show that I was having in Germany. I was in a show with a bunch of other Bahamian artists in Germany. So that was my impetus to do it. I could fast forward through all of the different iterations. All of the years later, people have helped me collaborate with the piece. We've made scrolls, we've made things that wrapped around buildings. The longest scroll I ever made was 1,000 feet long, right? And it went in and out of a house and into a swimming pool and all these different things. And often, I don't know if you guys ever heard of John Cox and Christo. These are two very famous artists that are known for wrapping things. And oftentimes when you make an installation work, you can't really buy it, right? It's not really something that you can own the physical thing. And that's something that I kind of like about this love work, is that it's when you get a piece of it, it's something that you're kind of buying the concept of it, so the conceptual value is what's there. And what I noticed was, when I made the work and all of my ambitions to make it so long and so big, that somehow I could achieve the same thing if I just took that texture and you just saw a little bit of it. You didn't even need to read the whole thing, but you saw it and you're like, oh, that's just how much I love you. That's a bit of the universe of love. So conceptually, that's kind of where that work came from. And I'm sorry to kind of start with all of that, but I think that that's important because it helps contextualize what we're doing, right? So back to silk screening. So silk screening is a technique, one of the many techniques. This is probably one of the newer techniques. You guys heard of Andy Warhol, right? All of the Marilyn Monroe images and all of that stuff. The silk screen is effectively this frame. This happens to be a metal one, and it has silk stretched on it, right? Not all silk is created equally. Some silk this is silk that's made for this. And what it does is it gives you imagine pixels on a screen, right? The mesh count in the silk can be different. So what this does is this allows you to transfer the ink through onto the surface. And printmaking, the other printmaking techniques I mentioned before, relief printmaking, etching, monoprinting, there's always like the ink is transferring to the surface that you're printing on through some medium ground, right? And so in silkscreen, the medium ground is the silk that's stretched over the screen, all right? So I'll explain. We use a squeegee and regular ink is ink up here. So we use ink that is, I've silkscreened with all kinds of things. You could silkscreen with paint, anything like this, but this is actually proper silkscreen ink. And you use a squeegee, which is the thing that people use to clean the front of your windscreen or whatever. This is not one of those, but conceptually that's what it is. And effectively what you do is you need to have some kind of stencil on your screen, because if I put ink on this, ink will go straight through this, right? Like if I were to put, it's almost like if you had like a thin garment and you put paint on it, it would go straight through the garment. That's kind of what you want, right? But the type of transfer that you get when you put ink on a screen, it's really, really flat and really, really kind of graphically sound. So a lot of silkscreen is used for like commercial application to make t-shirts and that kind of stuff. So I think that's what this screen is probably designed for, because it's pretty small. It's designed to be on a screen. All the FUZE shirts and stuff like that, they're all silk screened, okay? So as it relates to the stencil, so what we're gonna be doing is Max Taylor, who's an amazing artist, that's his booth over there. He taught me when I was like 19 years old that you can use a paper cut stencil to basically do silk screen, which I think is amazing. There are pros and cons to it because, not to get into the weeds of it, but there's all different ways that you can create a stencil on the screen, right? You could put an emulsion on here and be in a dark room and have a transparent negative image, and then you project light onto it and it will like kind of cure the emulsion on the screen, and you'll be able to kind of get the image go through to create a stencil on there that has great detail. But I always liked being able to do things kind of DIY, you know, like just do it the way I want to do it. There are pros and cons to it, right? So if you use a paper cut technique, which this is, one can imagine paper does not hold very well up to water, right? If you soak this paper, it'll kind of disintegrate. So when you make a silkscreen, when you do a paper cut stencil, the stencil works on the screen while you're printing it, and then once you're done with it, the screen is destroyed. I mean, the stencil is destroyed, right? There's something about that which I also quite like because you can never get it back, right? One of the things I always like about Silkscreen is that, or about print, the way I use printmaking, and I have a little joke about it, right? I'll tell you later. But if you're doing it in the traditionally proper way, printmaking allows you to make additions, right? So if you want to do one image, I can make an etching of you. I can make 30 etchings of you, and if I'm a good printmaker, I can make 30 of them look exactly like you. So they're like, you can't tell them apart. I kind of like the idea that when you're printing, that no two of them actually look the same. So you're kind of creating a different kind of authentic kind of experience. Like, I'm not really interested in addition, I'm just interested in it as a process. So as related to the concept that I opened up with, this is a I Should Love You. This is effectively that typeface that I use for this concept for the last, I don't know how many years, 18 years, I guess. This is Arial black font. It's cut. It has to be cut a particular way. I'm very particular about that. And then the way that it kind of lands on the surface of the garment or whatever it is I'm printing is very important. When you look at it there, you see it's not clean. I've done a lot of commissions for people before, and they're like, oh, can you just make it look cleaner? I want it to be more legible or whatever. And I'm like, no, well, that's not really what love is like. It's not like that, right? So when I cut this, I know what the printmaking process is like that affords this to deteriorate in the way that I want it to deteriorate over the time that I'm printing it, okay? So this is the screen here, and this is good. I mean, this light is killing me. This heat is, I'm just gonna go with it and say it's by design. But when you look at the screen, you can see straight through it, right? You see the FUZE sign through it, it's transparent. When you put the stencil on it, the stencil blocks the light out. Can you see that? Right? So you see it very, very clear. So the paper is gonna block the ink from going through the screen. Because it is legible, and when I say legible, we're reading it left to right, I want the writing to print out in the correct way. So when I put the stencil on the back of the screen, I don't put it out the way I can see it, because when I print it, it's gonna be backwards. So I put the stencil on this way, right? And I just literally use tape to stick it on, okay? So what I've done here, this is Shanice, by the way. She's our education coordinator for the current, and she teaches all the classes. She's amazing. She's helping me today, so she's gonna help me do stuff. So this is a screen that I just put together for you guys so you can see it. Can you see it there? So the light comes through it pretty good. This whole skylight thing is working out beautifully right now. So that's what we're gonna be printing. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do one, and I'm gonna show you how it's done. I have a couple of shirts that people can print, and you can take the shirt if you come up, but Shanice has to help, or somebody from the team has to help. How many shirts do we have? 5. We have 5 shirts, and so 5 people can print a shirt, and you can take it home with you, and you could say you just made a This Is Much I Love You t-shirt at the fair. So I don't know, a couple of people want to do it. I don't know who wants to be the 5 people here. I see 5 people right here. This one here, you counting? Okay, good. So I'm gonna do the demo. I'm gonna do one swipe first, and then I'm gonna let you guys come up and do the rest. So Shanice is wearing a shirt at the moment, and what I was talking about in the beginning, so this one is done a little bit different, where the writing is bigger, right? This shirt is actually printed in a different way through a stencil. And so these shirts were made for Hands for Hunger. You guys familiar with Hands for Hunger, the initiative? So these were made for Hands for Hunger, and all of the money goes towards Hands for Hunger. So written on the side of the shirt, the conceptual thing, it says, this is not a t-shirt. Because I want you to think of it as a piece of art, right? That you're buying, whether you wear the shirt or you do whatever you're doing with it. The process that we're doing is really, there's machines that can do this in a much more kind of efficient way. but that's really not the brand that I want to kind of perpetuate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another line on the bottom and just kind of show you what I'm doing. I'm going to use this piece here. So effectively, what I do is take this stencil, I'm going to lay it on the screen backwards, add another layer of tape on it, so my story was when I was in art school, I was an illustration major, and the people in printmaking had their graduating, exhibition. But I did so many silkscreen classes in printmaking that I was always in there, and I ended up winning the printmaking award for the printmaking department, but I wasn't in printmaking. That was the last thing I've ever won. And that was 30 years ago. And the person who was the head of the department said, I've never seen anybody make a mess of silkscreen as badly as you, but I love it. So we're gonna make another mess today, but hopefully you guys will love it, pun intended. So I put the last piece on there. So effectively this whole white is gonna be blocking the ink out, okay? So what I'm gonna do first is do one on a sheet of paper, all right, just so you can kind of see conceptually what's going on. And then I'm gonna do a shirt, and then the 5 people should probably come up. What happens with this is that you could get a little dirty, so be careful if you have your church clothes on. I don't want you to be mad because the ink will not come out by design. So, can you all see this from the top? Okay, sure. Shanice wants me to wear gloves, so I will. I'm like a surgeon. I'm watching the resident. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna put the paper down again. In a perfect world, this is all registered, everything's very clean, there's lines on the table and everything. I have the screen, I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna take this ink, which is designed for screen printing on t-shirts. When you screen print a t-shirt, the ink needs to be cured into the t-shirt. So in a perfect world, we'd have like a heater, a conveyor belt that would heat up to about 200 degrees and it would cure the ink onto the shirt, which allows it to not fade so much. So this ink just kind of goes on. Just goop it on. I'm gonna put this back over here. Put this there. And then I'm gonna squeegee this on. So what tends to happen is once you're working, you kind of figure out how much ink to put through, how much to guide through, and then you gotta get a sense of it. So when I do this, if somebody wants to print one on paper before we get to the shirts, that can also happen. All right, so you move the ink back and forth on the screen, and I'm gonna pull it through. All right, so I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna use that. And yep, what happens is this came through. So you have the print there. So you could just let that be right there. Yeah, you just put it so it's not on the screen, just on the front. So this is the pattern that came out there, okay? Okay, so see, it looks like this. So what's gonna happen is now we're gonna do the shirts, okay? So we'll be able to do a shirt next. I'm gonna do one shirt, and then we're gonna let the 5 people come up, and I'll walk you through it, and you get to pull and feel how the squeegee feels to pull, etc. So we can put this on the floor. So again, there's ways that we can clean this up, having tape on here to make this like look a particular way. I like to do it just kind of in a more spontaneous way. So here we go. You can put that there. Oh, yeah. So that came out great. See that? So that's one. This can be for somebody. Y'all can fight over it if you don't want to or not fight. So what I'm going to do is put these here. So now we need 5 people to come up, and we can do, you want to be one of the people? You all could just come over here. I think 1, 2, 3, and then you coming, and then one over here, that's 5. That's perfect. Okay? So I also want to say something about these shirts here. These ones that are for Hands for Hunger, we're going to be trying to sell these over the next day, between now and the end of the day. These are $100. I know it sounds like a lot, but it is a very important cause. And really the idea is, if we were to be buying like a piece of art that was a collage or something else like that, or you went to a restaurant and you got like bottled water and a wine, it would cost $100. So maybe if you think about it the same way, these are for sale for Hands for Hunger. And so everything that's on that rack, not the pants, the shirts are for sale, and they're going to be over by the current booth. All right, so enough of that. Let's come over and print some shirts. Who's first? You don't have to wear gloves if you don't want to. Do you want to wear gloves? You do?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to wear gloves?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is it hard to wash off?
It comes off eventually. So you could do this all kinds of different ways, right? So you want the gloves?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Okay. So now we're going to put the screen down. We're going to take the squeegee. So what we want to do is get the ink up at the top as much as we can. You want to put your hand on, you put this hand there, I'm going to hold the screen for you. When you slide it, you want to keep the squeegee at a 45-degree angle, right? Push really down hard and slide it all the way to the bottom without stopping. Excellent, very good. And then take the ink and push it back. Come up, bring it over here and push it back forward. Just push it, yeah, push it forward. Okay, and then you can almost hear it when it's transferring. You could hear the sound, like there's sound like it's on the silk. Go again. You hear it? Yeah. Okay, very good. And let's do one more and bring it to the top. One more time. That's excellent. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, let the ink stay there. We're gonna lift this up slightly. Put your finger on the shirt. Oh, this came out well. Very cool. Very cool. So you can pick it up. You're gonna put a little dirt on there. That's the shirt she made. Very awesome. You have dirty hands now. Okay, so this will be yours. I don't know, we're gonna leave it on the floor, Shanice. You have a system? I don't know. So what's the next one? Oh, there you go. You could do the front or the back or whatever you want to do.
I guess the front.
The front. Yeah. Like that. Okay, we're going to bring this over. I'll push some of the ink forward for you. Okay?
Okay.
So come over, 2 hands on it. Push down hard, yeah. And go back up here. Bring it down again. Okay, I think we need to push up one more time. And then come back, come over here, yeah. Come back down, yeah. Very
So
good.
cool.
Yeah, so what we want to do.
Tactile.
It is tactile. And then you're gonna lift this up. This one printed well, I could tell. Yeah, that came out really well.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, you have a tank top. That's cool. Excellent. This is gonna look really good. Okay, let me just move this ink to the front for you.
Oh.
Yeah, ink in the hair. Okay, and then scoop it up. Yeah, push it back. And then bring this back down. Great, I think that works good. Let me just pull 2 more. I want you to put your finger on the shirt, just to hold it, because I don't want it to fold. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, look at that. That came out very clean. Don't move it just yet. This is a clean one. Well done.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should we put it on the ground? You can hang it? Should we hang all of them?
I'll help. Okay.
Okay. All right, sir. Ready? Very cool. All right, here we go. Okay, so you want to put your hand on, like with lots of pressure, 45-degree angle, and bring it straight down. Okay, and then get another thing. And then scoop, you could scoop some of this up, or you could push it back towards it, like this way, and push it forward. Yeah, that sound is what you want to hear. And then come over this side. All right, that's probably good, because I could hear the sounded really tight. So what I'll do, yeah, you could see it printed good. Put your finger there. Look at that. Very cool, right? Oh, shit. Nice. That came out perfect. Yeah, you're gonna show them? Yep. And you got some back print too, right? The longer you print them, the messier it gets, the better they are. I shouldn't say that. Okay, I think we have, is that the last shirt? Shanice? Shanice, that's the last one. One more? Okay, there you go. Perfect. Very good. Come back over, like scoop some of this up and bring it to the top. Okay, and before you go, take some and push it to the top. And then take some and bring some of that over. You can move it over. Yeah, there we go. That's good. And push it forward. Very cool. So you can leave that. And you can tell by the sound it makes how it's going to work. So you're going to lift it up. Put your finger on it. That came out great. Awesome. Very cool. So that's how it works. That's how the kind of idea of the silk screening works. Most of the works that I've done before are either done with the silk screen technique or they're done with a bigger stencil, which I don't have here, where I roll through with like a regular paint roller. Like I feel like, truthfully, the more irregular it is, the more individual the kind of DNA is of the artwork. So that's effectively it. So thank you all very much for listening to me, and etc. Please buy a Hands for Hunger shirt. I know $100 sounds like a lot, but it's not, for the work that the Hands for Hunger organization does, and they're going to be over at the current booth. And yeah, take it easy. I guess we could just let them dry up here for now. We could just let them dry up here, let it be a thing for now. Anybody have any questions, concerns, complaints? Yes, sir. Those will probably be dry like in another, probably like hour, like dry enough to like touch against other things. Yeah. Yes, the paper will dry quicker. Fabric, like I said, ideally, you put them in that drying conveyor belt thing. Sometimes what we do is we will print the shirt and then dry it in the washer and dryer first, because that'll help cure the work. The dryer gets quite hot, and it'll just help it to not fade, right? But I mean, so much of it for me is like the fading out and the distressed look of it is kind of part of the process for me. I did some pants that are black ink on white, and I think they just reached like a terminal fading, like, you know what I mean? I kind of like, it's like, this is the perfect thing right here. Like this gray color is what I want. So like the one that Shanice has on will probably fade a little bit the first time it's washed. Yeah. Okay? Yes? So the screens are, like I said, the silk is specifically for silk screening. You can't just get silk from like a fabric store. Sorry, it doesn't, it's not gonna hold up well enough. But there are like art supply stores like Jordana, where like Dick's or Sherwin-Williams is an art store that's on Sinead Darling Highway, and they have kind of like basic silk screen kits. But if you get into it like seriously, you can buy silk for silk screening and make your frames whatever size you want to make them. And you should be printing with screen printing ink, though you can print with other things, but this is what's designed to go on fabric. And once you do it, like one thing I also want to show you is right now, like, see that? So this paper held up pretty well. This is not going to hold up. In order for us to, when we call getting the screen back to the way it was when we started, we call that reclaiming the screen. This paper is going to get destroyed. So none of these shirts can be made again that look like that, right? And that for me, for the brand, I kind of like it like that, you know? All right, cool. Y'all enjoy the fair and enjoy the food. Apparently there's lots of food over there. Thank you. Yeah, man, take it. I should turn this off.